Imagine being asked to give up the thing you love the most. Not your money, not your home, but your own child. Would you trust God enough to obey? One day, Abraham faced the most difficult test of his life. A moment that would challenge his heart, his faith, and everything he believed. Let me tell you the powerful story of Abraham and Isaac, a test of faith. Welcome to Bible Stories and Tales, where we share inspiring stories from the Bible to grow your faith. The Bible is filled with moments where ordinary people faced extraordinary challenges. Today's story teaches us about trust, obedience, and believing in God, even when we do not understand His plans. Let's begin. Long ago, there lived a man named Abraham. Abraham was a man who loved God and followed His guidance. God had chosen Abraham to begin a great nation. One day, God made Abraham a wonderful promise. God told him that his descendants would become as numerous as the stars in the sky. But there was one problem. Abraham and his wife Sarah were very old, and they had no children. Year after year passed, and they continued waiting for God's promise. Sometimes the waiting must have been difficult, but Abraham still believed that God would keep His word. Then one day, something wonderful happened. God blessed Abraham and Sarah with a son. They named him Isaac. Isaac was the child God had promised. Abraham loved Isaac deeply. Isaac was not only his son, but also the future of the promise God had made. They spent many days together walking, talking, and learning about God. Abraham must have been filled with joy whenever he looked at his son. But one day, God decided to test Abraham's faith. God spoke to Abraham and gave him a very difficult command. Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love. Go to the land of Moriah. There you must offer him as a sacrifice on a mountain that I will show you. This was a shocking command. Isaac was the son God had promised. The promise of the future depended on him. Why would God ask Abraham to sacrifice his own son? The Bible does not tell us exactly what Abraham felt at that moment. But we can imagine that his heart must have been heavy. Yet Abraham trusted God. Early the next morning, Abraham prepared for the journey. He gathered wood for the offering. He saddled his donkey. He brought 2 servants with him. And he took Isaac. Together they began the long journey toward the mountain God had shown him. For 3 days they traveled through the land. 3 long days to think, to pray, and to trust God. Finally, Abraham saw the mountain in the distance. He told his servants to stay behind. Then he and Isaac continued up the mountain alone. Isaac carried the wood for the offering on his shoulders. Abraham carried the knife and the fire. As they walked together, Isaac asked an important question. "My father," Isaac said. "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "We have the fire and the wood," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the sacrifice?" Abraham answered gently, "God Himself will provide the lamb for the offering." When they reached the place God had shown them, Abraham built an altar. He carefully arranged the wood. Then he prepared the offering. Abraham's heart must have been filled with deep emotion, but he trusted God completely. Slowly, Abraham lifted the knife. He was ready to obey God. And just at that moment, something incredible happened. Suddenly a voice called from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," Abraham answered. "Do not harm the boy," the angel said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you truly fear God, because you did not withhold your son from me." Abraham looked around. Nearby he saw a ram caught in a bush by its horns. God had provided another sacrifice. Abraham offered the ram instead of Isaac. At that moment Abraham realized something powerful. God had never intended for Isaac to be harmed. The test was about faith. Then God spoke again and repeated His promise. Because Abraham trusted and obeyed Him, God would bless him greatly. His descendants would become a great nation. And through Abraham's family, blessings would come to people all over the world. This story teaches us that true faith means trusting God, even when we do not understand everything. Abraham believed that God would keep his promises. Even in the most difficult moment of his life, he trusted that God had a plan. And in the end, God provided exactly what was needed. Sometimes life brings moments that test our faith. We may face situations that seem confusing or difficult. But this story reminds us that God sees our trust and always has a plan. When we walk with faith, God provides a way. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video and subscribe to Bible Stories and Tales for more inspiring Bible stories. Share this story with your friends and family. And remember, faith means trusting God, even when the path is difficult. God bless you.